All right, folks, and welcome to our Fields and Features segment. I'm your host, Dan, aka Smash-A-Mash. And first thing we're looking at is magnetohydrodynamic pressure around the earthly space environment. Yeah, so this will be 4 hours of data. We'll let this play through for you here. We've got a fairly homogeneous pressure environment here around planet Earth. Out to about 12 Earth radii is what you're showing here. Scale is nanopascals. We'll also be showing things like coronal holes and sunspots, and talking about coronal mass ejections, or perhaps a lack thereof. Again, that's 4 hours of data courtesy University of Michigan. Next, ground magnetic perturbations showing magnetic flux density at the surface level. Geospace delta B changes to Earth's B field. The scale here, nanotesla. And like the last frame, it is 4 hours. Assuming all goes according to plan, and it looks like it is. So there's where we're seeing ground-based magnetic perturbations. Let's take a look at some magnetism of plasma in space. This is the top view ecliptic plane field plot. And later today, by tomorrow's daily space weather video, Earth will almost certainly be in a North Pole current sheet. That is this green area right here. That's your North Pole current sheet. Over here is a South Pole current sheet. And really, solar cycle 25 is taking its time for the solar polar field reversal process. Here are the GOES magnetometers over the past 7 days. Keep in mind those are in a geosynchronous orbit, so those are measuring the magnetic field of Earth. And I just figured I'd bring up the 7-day chart because we saw this big spike here a couple of days ago. There's a 3-day chart that we normally show. And back to the Gong 2 data here from the National Sunspot Observatory. You can see that North Pole current sheet headed this way, shown in green there on the left of your screen. North Pole plasma polarity coming soon. Next, coronal holes. We've got a series of North Pole-oriented coronal holes over here in the eastern limb, especially the northeast. And we'll be watching this polar field reversal process go as solar cycle 25 continues. Keep in mind the data is 1 hour and 7 minutes old from when we made the video and can change suddenly with basically no warning. So here's a visual of coronal holes. 193 angstroms from the SDO is a good wavelength to view coronal holes. You can see these North Pole ones up here. They won't be all that geo-effective unless they stretch down a little bit farther. So we may be seeing it cross the equator right here. Trans-equatorial coronal holes are more likely to affect the Earth geomagnetic space with their high-speed wind streams. Next, we'll look at sunspots, and the likelihood of solar flares has gone up a little bit with the rising of this new spot down here. It'll get named today. It's a beta class sunspot, and we'll show you a close-up of it. Here's a close-up of sunspot 2941. This will be setting later today. And in my opinion, the likelihood of major flares coming from this actually goes up as it approaches the limb. And that has to do with the emission spectra and the angular nature of it. Why is the sun brighter in X-ray and in various other wavelengths around the edge of the solar disk than it is in the center? If you've got ideas, let us know in the comments. Some of us have ideas also. I'm just interested to know what viewers think. So this sunspot has degraded a little bit over the past 24 hours. And this sunspot has spontaneously grown. So it's already got beta class. It's got 2 umbrae of opposite polarity, a South Pole leading umbra and a North Pole, a couple of trailing umbrae there. So that changes things a little bit. Here's your full disk view in this 1700 angstroms extreme ultraviolet light wavelength. So we did see a significant flare here late in the day. That came in at about 2140 Universal Time. It was a large C-class flare, pushing the boundaries of M-class flares. Since then, not a lot of flaring activity. No relativistic particles to speak of showing up in the GOES proton flux. Just a baseline level. And let's look at the real-time solar wind here. We still do see a slightly elevated solar wind as a coronal hole wind stream is subsiding. Current solar wind velocity 480 kilometers per second, solar wind density just over 10 protons per cubic centimeter. KP index at 2. That is a measurement of global geomagnetism, by the way, if you're wondering what the KP index is. You can read all about it. Just click the Details tab on the Planetary K Index page. It'll tell you all about it. Let's do a solar system forecast. Here's where things are now. Here's where things will be in a week. Only a couple days from a full moon we are at the moment. In a week, we'll see a crescent waning. If you're up before dawn, you may see Mars, Venus, Mercury, and Saturn rising ahead of the sun. It's a planetary pileup. We like to use in-the-sky.org. My star chart faces the south because I'm facing south. My sofa faces south. We've also drawn in the ecliptic, which is this yellow line, and the blue line is the galactic plane. Next, looking at coronal mass ejection watch. We don't really see any of note at the moment. Again, we are expecting a coronal mass ejection strike here late on the 16th, early on the 17th. Here's the view from the Soho Lascaux C3 on the right and the Stereo A coronagraph on the left. Nothing too exciting going on there. We may see some stealthy CMEs here. It looks like there could be some ejecta headed Earth's way. It's pretty diffuse. It wasn't super well defined. So not really super noteworthy. But that other one is somewhat noteworthy in my opinion. Anyway, I'm not sure why Noah missed it. Thanks for tuning into our Fields and Features segment. Make sure you check out our bonus features and our other space weather video. We've been putting out 3 per day with some of the most spectacular imagery that you'll see on the internet of the sun. I'll have been your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smash-O-Mash, signing off from the Smash News Network least busted name in news.